was one of the earlier scenes that we captured. She and I had done a few things already together, but you know, you fall into, because again, we just instantly click, we fall into that rhythm very fast. And by the time we got to shooting Bill, it was interesting to see how much just a third person can change that dynamic. Not in a negative way. Don't take me wrong. Don't think I'm being disparaging at all. It's just that she and I fell into this, and that's exactly what the scene is. You have Joel and Ellie who are this unit, and now I'm taking Ellie to a third person and how that changes the dynamic. And because, again, I think our process, the 90 Way, is so proven, it gives us that flexibility. I joke and I say that it's like Neil is, you know, juggling chainsaws. He's got two, and you know, Tom in the third one. Now he's, you know, juggling three. So we have the ability and the flexibility to augment that dynamic because the process is so sound.
Well, we're not done development. We're still shooting cinematics, but you know, as you shoot every scene, as you're getting used to and seeing how the other, you know, how the relationship goes with other characters behind you too. What have you started to learn about Ellie, or what have you started to learn about Joel or about Tom?
You know, I think this is a lot like theater, where it's, you know, when you get to be with a character for so long, you learn so much, and I think you also start bringing a little bit more of yourself to the character. So I feel like when we go to work, I don't feel like I'm going to work and I'm being Ellie. It's just like, oh, I'm going to work, and sort of Ellie and Ashley, like, you know, get thrown together when this weird thing happens. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how to.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that over time, it's like with every scene that we do, there's less of me and more of Joel, and there's another piece of skin that, you know, and flesh gets added to, and the bones get stronger. And for me personally, like as we've gone on through these scenes, and again, every scene has, like Bruce said, every scene has weight. I like that Joel can surprise me. If that makes any sense. I know that sounds weird. It's like I'm talking about myself in third person, but the way that I would naturally respond to a situation, and when we're in that situation, the way that Joel responds to it. And I know this sounds incredibly pretentious, but it really is true that Joel surprises me, and typically it's by responding to something in a completely different way than you would think. Like if someone is, you know, antagonizing you, to not respond to that, as opposed to get it in their face, you know. And that's because, you know, Ashley and I and Neil and the three of us have really sat down and made some very hard choices about these characters, and we really discussed why these characters, why is Joel even alive? You know, what happened to him? Why does he make this decision every day to survive? What does Ellie mean to him? You know, these are all questions that happen off the page. There's nothing in the story necessarily that answers some of these questions. So being able to have access to the writer and have a director that's that open is incredibly valuable. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a great example right there that, you know, you're in terms of Joel surprising you, like both of the characters are living in this like really crazy fictional world. You know, it's post-pandemic. Joel lived through it, but Ellie has only seen this. It's pretty like, how do you prep for that? Like,
Yeah.
you can't go outside and be like, okay, this is this is my experience.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's a hard thing for any of us to wrap our minds around. Okay, what would it be like if everything that we know is gone? The world has just turned to shit. How would you deal with that? And so you're asking yourself a lot of questions and trying to figure that out. I mean, I'm so excited for you guys to play the game, but we have, I mean, some of the scenes that we have captured, I have gone away and been like screwed up for a week.
Yeah.
Like just, where I'm like, oh my God, that was so incredibly messed up and crazy. I mean, Neil is such an amazing writer, and the places that he goes are very dark, but it's still very realistic.
And it's purposeful too.
Yeah.
It's not gratuitous. And there's one thing that people have latched onto is talking about the violence in the game. And it's so funny because comparatively speaking, the violence, I love Call of Duty, but it's nothing compared to Call of Duty. And the reason why this feels so violent is because the violence in this game is incredibly realistic, because it is a choice that you make to do this. And it's not necessarily up against a faceless foe or a monster or a dragon or a ninja. It's a guy that used to live across the street from you, or whatever it may be. So that takes that violence and makes it incredibly tangible and very, very realistic. And in that, it's more a shot to the guy. So.
Well, you're obviously putting a lot of both of your characters into the performance from the motion capture. I wanted to show a clip on how you see every stage from that performance capture moment to the final one.
I'll cut to the chase. I need a car.
Well, it is a joke. Joel needs a car. Well, if I had one that works, which I sure as hell don't, what makes you think I'd just give it to you? Huh? Yeah, sure, Joel, go ahead. Take my car. Take all my food, too, while you're at it.
By the looks of it, you could lose some of that food.
You listen to me, you little shit.
No, fuck you! You handcuffed me!
I need you to shut up. All right?
Whatever favors you think I owe you ain't worth that much.
Actually, Bill, they are.
It's so crazy to see that. I mean, as a gamer, and I'm sure you guys are gamers too. Again, hopefully, if not, this has been a really long week for you. But we're almost anesthetized to the amazing because we expect it. We've seen the processing power of the PS3 and the Xbox just go through the roof in the last 3 years. And what you're able to see in game is just, I was talking to someone outside a little while ago, and he was playing FIFA, and his wife came in and said, "Oh, who's winning?" And she thought it was an actual match. She didn't realize he was just playing. He was like, I am actually, that's who's winning. But, so because that bar is so high, we forget sometimes that these are just ones and zeros that are moving around in space, and it's magic that's making it happen. And so I remember the first time I saw this, thinking that we really are making something great because it looks so good. And not because from a graphic standpoint it's really superior, but because I knew that every little thing that we did on the stage was going to be picked up, and the animators were going to be able to take that, and the environmental artists were doing such an amazing job, and the lighting guys were incredible at adding these shadows and making this feel like this is a dark, scary place that we live in. And it just instills so much confidence when you see it go through all the different stages and how hard they work to get it to that point. It just blows my mind.
But cinematic cutscenes aren't the only place that we could tell a story, too.
Right. I think that's a pitfall that a lot of developers get into, is that because they want a very cinematic game, they put cinematics in the story, which is a great thing to do. But if that's the only place that you're telling your narrative, then you've really cut yourself off at the knees. And the thing that Naughty Dog does differently is that there's this common through line, or common thread, that ties in that narrative with the end game. So actual gameplay, because it's one thing to be an observer and watch this cinematic play out, but it's another thing to actually have this story and the characters develop while you're having control of them. And through these in-game cinematics that Naughty Dog has, that's how we tie in the complete narrative. And it's from an actor standpoint, it's really, really challenging, because we'll do these in-game cinematics and we have to sell this incredibly tense moment, understanding that you always have the asshole factor, and there could be the gamer that's over here humping a wall, or trying to punch Ellie in the face or whatever.
Which
which
will probably happen.
you always have to account for that. Now, 90% of gamers want to do the right thing, but it's such an interesting, in a movie, people keep, I'm going to get off topic, hang on. People always, I get asked this a lot by a lot of press saying, when do you think that video games will be able to bridge the gap with film? And a good friend of mine, Brian Bloom, amazing actor, responded when he was asked that question, responded with this. He says, I don't understand the question. They said, well, when do you think that film, video games will be able to bridge that gap and be more like film? And he says, brother, film is waiting on the shore. It's film that needs to catch up to games. Because what we've done from an entertainment standpoint and from a cinematic standpoint is we've made it interactive. I don't care how good a movie is, I'm still just watching it. I can't control anything. And what we've been able to do with this is take that cinematic experience where we're observing it and then put the controls in your hands, and now you're controlling the main character. That's phenomenal.
You're here.
That's phenomenal, yeah. Now make him go jump up against the wall or punch Ellie in the face. So that's what a unique opportunity, but then at the same time, what an incredibly complex infrastructure to work within. And so it's really a good challenge to show how Naughty Dog introduces that narrative through the end game and actually be able to tie everything in. Thank you for letting me get on myself.
Well, I just happened to bring a clip, totally random, of you doing some.
Okay, I wasn't sure where I wasn't sure where you're going with that. So I was like, what have I walked myself into?